And we are live today with another SPFBO 9 finalist, someone who's way too classy to be on our show, and that is the wonderful Wend Raven. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege.
Don't get too
excited. I've been eagerly awaiting my turn, so.
Too classy to be on this show is a really, really low bar.
I'll take it, you know. You got to take your wins where you can get them.
Amen. Spoken like a writer.
You are now the bar.
Oh, wow.
So
Thank you.
I will show this before I forget. Master of the Void, and that is a chunky book.
Yeah, I've seen Bibles that aren't that thick. Never read any of them, but I've seen them.
Hi, Katie.
So what possessed you to write this book?
It kind of grabbed a hold of me and wouldn't let me go. I created Ormond years ago and started writing some little bits about him, got him into some rough situations, and I kind of gave up on it. You know, I've talked about how I struggled with valuing my writing as something that was a profitable use of my time, and Orman just wouldn't leave me alone. He kept bugging me in the back of my mind, like, you left me hanging, you need to tell my story. So here we are. I finally said, okay, this is something that I really want to do and it's worth doing, and I'm gonna put in the hours and actually finish it. And I did.
And how many books are going to be in this series?
It's a planned trilogy.
Do you have Go ahead.
Yes, they are unfortunately all going to be that big. So just prepare yourself. The word count is a little over 200,000 words.
Wow. Okay.
So I have to ask, it's a trilogy. Does this mean you know what's going to happen in book 2 and book 3? Like, my series is going to be a 4-book series, and I've written 4 books in the 7-book series now.
Well,
are you going to have that?
No, I don't think so. It is pretty well planned out for the 3 books that I have planned. People have talked to me about like spin-offs with some of the side characters or things like that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll just see something shiny and go write a different series. But it is a pretty well planned out trilogy.
Okay. So you have discipline.
Maybe.
Well,
we will see.
If you've got 3 books planned out, you have discipline.
I guess. I won't say that
chapters planned out.
Yeah. I don't necessarily have everything detail outlined, but I do have the big picture and I know how it's going to fit into 3 books. So
nice. So what is the void in this?
Let's see. I can't get too deep into it because it will give away spoilers. My book is very hard to talk about without spoilers. But the void is essentially a realm that is adjacent to the realm that we live in, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It is a very empty place. Do I outline? Yes, I do outline. Is that outline always followed? No. Say what?
You have to yell back when you answer him because he's like,
I can't match Connor's energy. I just can't do it. I try. I need more caffeine before I can talk in all caps.
That's probably an unhealthy dose.
Well, probably. What are you drinking?
I am drinking lavender tea because I get nervous on interviews and I have to calm my nerves. So lavender tea it is.
Jack Daniels works really well for calming your nerves too.
I'm one of those people where if I take one Tylenol, I have no pain in my entire body. So I can't use substances that will do anything to me, or else I just pass out.
Carry on, Michael.
Oh, okay. You're the one who's supposed to ask the questions. I'm just here for my looks. So, okay, let's go on and go to our favorite subject in these, which is not, your books, but it's the group that you're in the chat.
I'm prepared for this.
And you are the one who bought the brand new axe, is that correct?
Oh, did that come up? Yes, I did buy an axe, and I used it.
What'd you do?
We're talking about my axe.
That when we were talking, I forget who told us now. It was Ed, because he showed us a picture of the axe. He actually
did
on his phone, yeah. So he's also a rule breaker. I know that shocks you.
He's bearing all my no, it does not shock me in the least bit. He's bearing all my secrets on the internet. Yes, I do have a very pretty axe, and it went to good use on my camping trip. I
Ah,
promise it was only used to behead pieces of wood. This
Well, you
time.
got to keep it pretty.
so it was for research then?
For research.
Well,
my
yeah.
camping?
Then it's a tax write-off. So yes, it was for research.
Oh, yes, it was for research then. Yes. I had to live out some of the situations that I put my characters in so that I can,
Exactly.
describe the
You
feelings
have it
accurately.
with you? Is it nearby?
I do not have my axe handy, unfortunately.
That actually
It's
makes me
downstairs
feel
in the
a little better.
garage. Yeah. I try not to bring weapons to interviews.
I think
Generally.
Actually, a weapon is a perfect thing to bring to an interview.
It depends on the interview, I think.
No, pretty much it doesn't. All interviews, you should have a way out, and an axe will be just that.
Noted. I will keep that in mind. Next time I come on this channel, I will bring a weapon. So
How many mosquitoes were there? 6. There were 6.
I might have seen one, but it was really cold. So yeah, I saw lots of geese and a squirrel that got in my car as I was trying to leave. I don't know if he was trying to escape that particular state park, but
Where were you camping?
in Georgia.
Oh, okay. And it was cold?
It was, and I kind of had this out with Katie about Georgia and my expectations because I thought it was going to be warm, but it was not at all.
What's cold, though? Georgia cold is not, Fairbanks cold. It's
I mean, it was high 30s, low 40s at night, which was cold for,
it's uncomfortable, yeah.
yeah, when you
That's
have to, walk to the outhouse and stuff. But
Oh, yeah, outhouses are never good.
Yeah.
Single
not to
digits.
single digits. Yeah, that's cold for Georgia.
So, this is your first book, and when did it come out?
It's been almost a year. It was March of 2023. Yep.
So when's the next one come out?
I would like to say I'm shooting for late spring. I would like for it to come out near the time that SPFBO ends. But life gets in the way and things don't come as quickly as you want. I am over the halfway point in writing it. And already have some alpha readers working on it. So it's coming along, and I think it'll be close to the time that I hoped, but it will definitely be this year.
So you've had one book, and you already have alpha readers, plural. Are you one of those writers that has friends?
I have a couple, and I'm hanging on to them for dear life because I hear they're hard to come by.
And you're asking them to read for you, and they're still friends. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're good ones. Yeah.
So how did you find out about SPFBO?
So my husband watches a lot of BookTube, which is funny because I'm the writer and I don't, but he is a reader. So he watches a lot of BookTube, and he followed it last year. And yes, they are. He followed it last year and kind of showed it to me and said, you should really do this. If you can get your book done in time, you should enter. And so I got my book done on time, and I had no idea it was going to be such a mad dash for entry.
Yeah.
But he kind of had an inclination it was going to be that way. And so we had everything ready, and it was 2 a.m. in Hawaii, I think. And I got in.
You had to get up at 2 a.m.?
I stayed up. I did not go to sleep. I was too nervous. So I just stayed up.
So what was I've got to figure around midnight, 1 o'clock. You had to be questioning your life choices.
I was a little bit. I was like, come on, this is just a crazy little contest. Why am I so nervous? Why am I doing this? But I'm a little bit of a night owl anyway, so 2 a.m. was not that big of a stretch. So yeah, 5 a.m. I might not have done it if I had to get up at 5 a.m. Not a morning person.
2 a.m. is fine. 5 is right out.
No, there's crossed the line there.
I had to get up at 8, so a.m.
8. I mean, it's rough, man.
Yeah, I had to tell my boss, I was like, look, I'm going to be late. I got to enter this contest first, and then I will drive to work. And he was fine with it.
laid down the law. That's real.
So if your husband's a reader, we assume then, and tell us if we're wrong, that he read through all this stuff and was able to kind of point out things. And
Yeah, he absolutely is one of my alpha readers. I think I mentioned this in my TBRCon interview, but we have nightly readings at my house where I read the chapter that I finished, and then we discuss it afterwards, and everybody gives their comments, and I catch a lot of like typos or small errors or continuity stuff in those readings. Actually, my son and my husband are really good at being like, didn't you say that this person had whatever color eyes? And it's like, oh, wait a second, did I? Okay.
Yeah.
So they're my continuity editors, and I appreciate that.
I have family members say, "How do you remember all this stuff?" Normally I don't. You know?
I mean, I do have, notebooks with stuff in it, but I'm famous for just scratching things on paper and then losing the paper. So then it doesn't help me very much. Good for criticism in many ways.
So where were you when you found out that you were a finalist?
So I was in the living room. I think we'd just gotten back from swimming or something, and my son had a friend over, and I got the notification that the YouTube video was up, and I really had zero expectations. And so I was sort of floating around in another dimension while everyone was watching the video. And when it was announced that I was a finalist, I fell on the kitchen floor and kind of zoned out for a while.
Now, everybody always says I had no expectations, but realistically, in the back of your head, you're kind of, you really.
No, I had
Really?
zero because
Yeah.
I'm such a newbie in the field. Like what kind of earrings? Oh, they are koi fish.
What are they?
Koi fish.
Koi fish. Oh, okay.
You see the tail? Yeah. I lost my train of thought now. But no, I did not expect anything.
We do that all the time. It's all right.
Yeah, that's why I write books and I don't speak for a living.
Well, if you keep writing books, and what are you going to do if you win? You're going to have to do a lot of speaking then, right?
Maybe I shouldn't win then.
It's out of your hands now. It's too late.
No, if I win, which I don't expect to, I'm just, I'm literally that person who's just happy to be here. Like, and I think I've said this before, and we talk about this in the author chat a lot. Getting this far is the real victory because, we get a lot of exposure and a lot of eyes on our books, for good or for bad. Yes, my plan. And it's honestly just been fun. I know we joke about the author chat a lot, but it's been fun to just kind of have that camaraderie with the other people on the chopping block. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to have to bring this up then, seeing how you brought up the author chat. Hold on.
No, that's my fault.
Yep. Talk to us about the food on the author chat.
Oh, okay. So food on the author chat is a constant thing. I'm happy to announce that we created a dedicated channel on our author chat for food now. And we are absolutely terrible at keeping the food in that channel. It still spills over into all the other channels. I think we were, yeah. But with the addition of the, I did prepare. Yes, thank you guys. With the addition of the food channel, we are getting actually more food content than we did before. So I think it's really just, we decided that the F in SPFBO stands for food now.
The secret channel had a baby.
Yes.
It's now the secret food channel.
Yes.
Does that mean that more book talk goes on the regular channel, or you do all just ignore that one now?
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Spend all your time on the food channel and pretend to yourself that it's okay now because we've called it a food channel.
Yeah, 80% food, 20% memes.
Excellent.
Some of the memes are about food, though, so I don't really know how that percentage works out.
You should make a SPFBO cookbook, like kind of an anthology cookbook.
That's not a bad idea. That's better than the idea that I proposed today. I said we needed to have a sub-contest to SPFBO, that it's SP Food BO, and we rank everybody's books based on the in-book food.
Yeah. That really that works for like TikTok and stuff as well, because you could, try them out. And
But then we
excellent.
got to talking about I think it was Clayton had ghoul jerky and kind of went downhill from there.
So, some of the things would be kind of difficult. I mean, one of the people we had, their person was a cannibal, right? So
I
that's
think
not
so,
going to go over well.
I really just don't know that falls in the category of food, but I suppose.
It doesn't fall in the category of appetizing, but
Right.
technically
Yes.
it probably falls in the food. In-book
Yep.
food.
So I have to ask a question because Ed, when he was on here, he said, they keep talking about food. Look at me. I don't care about food. I never talk about food. Is this true?
It is true, unless we're talking about mushrooms, and then Ed appears like a mushroom fairy that came out of nowhere. So definitely.
But I'm sure his mushrooms aren't like pizza mushrooms, right? His mushrooms are just.
I really don't think that he is very picky about his mushroom consumption. I think he eats eggs too. We were talking about comparing him to Gaston. But yeah, mushrooms and eggs pretty
Everyone
much.
can cook.
Yeah. Yeah.
That movie's a damn masterpiece.
Beauty and the Beast?
No.
Oh.
Ratatouille.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Sorry,
you're talking
I was talking
okay.
about Gaston.
Okay. I think Gaston was the name of the chef that died. And
I think it was.
Yeah. So sorry.
No, you're good. No, Ratatouille. We do talk about Ratatouille as well. That comes up. There's not much we don't talk about, to be honest with you.
Except books.
We occasionally talk about books.
So what is the conversation about books like? And this is something that you're like the 8th SPFBO finalist we've had, I think. And I don't think we've ever actually asked this question.
Oh no, I'm not prepared. Where's my notes?
Because we always get stuck on the food because we're doing this around dinner time. What kind of book things do you all talk about in there? Because I'm kind of assuming, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I'm kind of assuming you do not talk about the contest.
We do talk about the contest.
Okay.
But it's it's really just like I said earlier, a camaraderie of people who have their heads on the chopping block. So we're kind of just trying to encourage each other and say, well, it's not a big deal if we get a review that stings a little bit, or mostly all of us telling each other that the other ones are going to win. It's very kind in there.
You're playing Russian roulette, but there's only one empty chamber, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So. But we're having a good time in the meantime.
So has there been talk about what happens after the winner is announced? Does the food chat just go away, or do you guys keep it?
That's a good question. I know we were talking about like
kick out the winner and the rest of you just hang out.
The losers group. The almost winners group, maybe. Yeah, we were wondering what happens, when it's all over, if we get to have like a SPFBO alumni chat.
You need to make t-shirts.
But we really haven't answered that question. I'm curious about it myself. There's going to be like a gaping hole in my day where I don't see pictures of people's lunches. So.
Do people really send pictures of their lunch?
Absolutely. What do you think we're talking about?
Because it's 2009. That's fine.
Only if it's an appetizing lunch normally.
So what's been the best one you've seen?
Oh, that's hard.
Where's the best food game?
That is really tough. Katie's a pretty good contender. She eats a lot of sushi, and I love sushi, so I'm kind of partial to the sushi posts. She showed us a picture. Okay, yes, that ramen looked really good. That Connor made. One thing that stands out in my mind is Katie sent a picture of like a giant sushi roll that was about the size of a burrito, and I haven't been able to get that out of my head for a long time. So.
I have never had ramen. Have you, Mike? You went to college. You must have had ramen, yeah?
Yes, I've had ramen.
Okay, why did you eat that on purpose?
Are you talking about like instant ramen
I'm talking
There's
about
like
any
a
ramen.
huge, don't get me started on ramen. There's a whole like spectrum of ramen
Do tell.
from cup noodles, which is like your beginner ramen. See, I'm not the only one thinking about that sushi. Uh, there's your beginner ramen, and then you have way on the other end, which is like your culinary masterpiece ramen that's overpriced, and then right in the middle, and this is where you should live, is just like blue collar worker Japanese ramen that you get in a little shop in Shibuya on a rainy day. That's the sweet spot for ramen.
So I have to go to Japan.
You do, unfortunately, to get the best ramen, but it's becoming more common to uh, get good ramen in the States. We just had a good restaurant open up near us called Hokkaido, and it's pretty legit. And I would call it like almost Japan ramen. And I guess to answer your question about why would you eat ramen, it's like it's one of those comfort foods. If you get really good broth and good noodles and a nice piece of chashu pork, it's just like it's healing. It's what I eat whenever I'm sick.
Okay. I have a question for you that I bet you didn't prep for.
Uh-oh.
We're going to talk about your book, which you
Oh,
didn't
well,
expect.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were going to talk about my book. I thought we were just going to talk about author chat and stuff.
Well, mostly, but I want to know how many reviews did your book have when you entered SPFBO?
Maybe 5? It
And how
was
many does it
brand new.
have now?
I actually don't know. I have taken an oath to not look at my reviews until I'm done writing the sequel. So.
Well, while you guys are talking, guess what I'm going
Oh
to do?
no. Don't tell me.
I
I'll
love
close
the
my
internet.
eyes.
So yeah, I've
You
talked.
have 27,
Okay, well that's progress.
and it's 2.2 stars. No, it's not. It's like 4.4, but you have no 2 and 1 star reviews, not a single one.
61 on Goodreads. Ooh, that's nice.
And 60% of your reviews are 5 stars. So let's take a look at what
Well,
people
that's
say.
encouraging.
Why
Oh, no.
haven't we ever done this before?
Because it's torturous and it should probably be illegal.
We couldn't
Exactly. You're just making my point for me.
we couldn't do it in the beginning, or else nobody else would have come on. But now that
All
we're
right,
at
fair
the
enough.
end of the interviews,
I would probably said I was busy for the next 3 months.
I'm looking to see if there are any other reviews. Okay, you've only got 7 reviews. You've got 27 ratings. But
Okay.
I'm going to read this from Michael from May of last year. Master of the Void is one of the best books I have ever read. Do you know Michael?
I don't know if I know Michael. I know a
Okay.
lot of Michaels.
When it comes to magic and fantasy, it is number 1. This book is very well written. The author does an excellent job in bringing the characters to life. You felt like you were right there among the action. One of the underlying themes to me is how our future is affected by our choices. We can't blame our circumstances. Highly recommend to all ages. Okay, I'm going to review one of these first and find somebody who can write better. Carry on, Michael.
oh, okay. So, is this the only series that you're working on, Wen, or do you have others in mind?
There are some in the mind workshop, but nothing on paper yet. I have a hard time. Well, it's kind of weird for me to say I have a hard time splitting my focus because I have ADHD and I'm everywhere at once. But when it comes to writing, I have to only work on one project at a time. In fact, I don't even let myself read other good books while I'm writing because I have to really get in a headspace to where I'm basically living in my book in order to write it. So I do have some ideas for what I'll do when the Master of the Void trilogy is over, but I'm not letting myself think too much about them yet.
So nothing for Spitbox.
No, I don't think I'll be in the SPFBO realm for a few years at least. So that's why it was kind of really special that I made it this far this time, because it's sort of my one shot for a while.
All right, I've got something for you.
Uh-oh.
This is from Zaina. Extremely well-written YA fantasy. Was this meant to be YA fantasy?
It was meant to be YA appropriate, but it
Okay.
doesn't really have a age range.
So the author's Insta was one of those recommended accounts on my Insta feed. I looked through their post and was like, oh, cool, an upcoming indie fantasy novel. And then the stars must have aligned that day because, wow, Master of the Void was such a fun, delightful read. I quickly fell in love with the author's writing. Rich descriptions of setting, places, and cities were wonderfully written. I could feel myself being physically there. Specifically, love the descriptions of Ralawiya, Droxel, and Mumbadon. I could smell the salty Sierra of Droxel and picture the village that one of the MCs lived for a time. And it goes on. So you've made an impression. Nice.
Thank you.
They're all like that, actually.
We didn't tell you, but we're going to ask you to read chapter 1 here a little bit in a few minutes.
That's going to take a long time. My chapters are kind of long. Maybe we should. You know what? I think I'm getting a phone call. I have to go.
Nobody's tried that yet. I'm really kind of surprised. You may have just cracked the code on us.
My internet will cut out if you make me do something too embarrassing. I'm just going to warn you.
You couldn't do anything more embarrassing than Mike and I do every single day of our life, which is just get up and walk around public. So
I applaud you for that.
So have you read the other 9 books, or are you reading the other 9 books?
So that is where I am a terrible human being, because I have not yet, because it's part of my I don't read books while I'm writing. But, oh dear. Because it's boring? Is that what you're trying to say?
She was trying to be complimentary there, I think.
I know. Katie is always kind. I like that. What was I saying? Oh, no, it's part of my kind of pact to not read good books while I'm writing. And so I am close to being done with the writing push to finish the sequel. And then I'm going to like binge read all the finalists and go on about how wonderful they are. So,
of course, you'll know the winner by then. So
maybe
your reading will be tainted with this freaking one.
no. I don't ask me my suspicions about who will win, but I absolutely know it's going to be well deserved. And honestly, like, even though I haven't read the books myself, I have learned a lot about what they're about and the content and just the creativity that's gone into each one. And everybody deserves to be there. And I'm really actually excited to read them. I don't read while I write because I don't want to accidentally have my writing style morph halfway through writing a book because I liked something that someone else
Right.
read. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I do plan to read them all because they seem very exciting and they're all just really creative and talented people. And I'm not just saying that because they're watching.
We do. Do you go out with your book to like cons or anything like that, or have you done readings at libraries or?
I am the absolute worst promoter of my own book. So I haven't done much of that yet. I do plan to. I have a few proselytizers who go out and do that for me that are very kind, who have gotten others to read my book, and they do a better job of it than I do. But it is something I'd like to do. I did get to go to BristolCon to get my finalist coin, which I have.
My
My
I was
treasure.
going to ask.
I know that you guys asked for this. I'm prepared.
Mike asked for it.
Mm-hmm. So that
I
was
didn't
really
know it
cool.
existed. Sorry.
And I am going to JordanCon, but not as a
Is a guest.
booth, but just as an attendee. So
JordanCon?
Yep.
yeah,
It's
for
in
Wheel
the-
of Time.
Oh, okay, right.
So we have a question from the Peanut Gallery, an actual question.
Oh, man.
Okay, so my average rate is 1,000 words an hour. And that's if I'm writing words that I want to keep. So if I can get things going, I write in an average rate of 1,000 words an hour. Yesterday I had like one of my all-time, yeah, it was so cool. One of my all-time highs. I wrote 9,000 words yesterday.
How long did that take? That's crazy amount of content.
I probably wrote 6 hours yesterday,
Oof.
Just sit down and write.
but not
Not
for 6 hours straight. I did it in like 2-hour blocks.
even
So-
that. I have a hard time.
The thing is, the way it works is, that's pretty clean writing. I don't change much with the 1,000 an hour. Yeah.
And I agree with Connor here. He should have put it all in caps and spelled out 9,000 because that's amazing.
Well, I'm finishing up what I coined a term, but it doesn't seem to be catching on for some reason. I decided I wanted to write a lot in February. So, you got NaNoWriMo, right? So I'm doing Februaripu. Which stands for February Writing Push. I don't understand why it hasn't caught on, but
Maybe it was just this year people didn't want to do the extra day.
maybe the poo might have, yeah.
And
So
I wasn't going to say that.
that's it, February poo.
I'm trying
So-
to restrain.
9,000.
9,000. All I can see is the guy in Gross Point Blank. 9,000. 9,000. 9,000. Because that's a lot of words.
I'm not going to pretend that I write 9,000 words a day on a regular basis. That was sort of a thank you, Katie. See,
The
she's
fact
nice.
that
I'm
you've
telling
done
you.
it at all, I think most writers would kind of kill for a 9,000 word day. Any
Yeah,
day.
I'd like to ride that high for a while. Then I have other days where I sit down for 3 hours and I write 50 words and it just won't come. It's fickle like that. But
Ro, if you're going to write books that are this thick,
Yeah, right? Yeah, if you
You
write
need
them
to
at
have
that
those
rate,
days.
it'd be like one every 5 years.
if I want to write this within my lifetime, I really need to just sit down and do it.
And you've got 2 more of those monsters to come.
Yes, I just passed the halfway point of book 2 and I'm at about, I think it was like 84,000.
and then there's 4 spin-offs that you'll have to do. So
We'll see about that.
You got to do a novella to give away to people to get them into that monster?
Maybe that's a good idea. I like I said, I kind of get on a one-track mind, so we'll see what transpires. But
I'm just curious if your novella will end up being 120,000 words.
Yeah, right.
it's going to be one of those oops novellas that turns into a full-length novel.
Her novella will be my book, basically. Yeah.
Perhaps if I didn't put so many food descriptions in, it would be a little bit shorter. I have been called out for that.
Do you put a lot of food descriptions in your book?
I do tend to, yeah. I feel like I like to pull people into the world with all their senses, so I try to bring in sounds and textures and tastes and not just describe what they're seeing, and feeling. But
I mean, food is really good for like smell, which is a particularly difficult one to get in there. But what are your characters eating?
So my characters do a lot of traveling, and so that's kind of where the food comes in because they're trying new foods that they haven't ever had before. And, oh, I've never thought of making a stew out of fruit before. This is delicious, that type thing. So it's sort of they get to learn about the culture that they're in by seeing what they eat and how they come around the table. And one of my characters is an aristocrat who's kind of going through life in a way that he did not expect, and part of his character development is learning how to peel a potato. So, just things like that, where kind of food is such a big part of our real life, daily lives. We have to eat 2 or 3 or 4, however many times a day you eat. So it just seems to make sense that our characters would too.
So I have a burning question now. Is a burrito-sized sushi roll going to make its way into one of your books?
I can't say that it won't. So it may be a burrito-sized sandworm sushi. I mean, it's not going to be normal, but it's going to be something.
And then you'll have to put Katie in the acknowledgments.
Yes, she will be in the acknowledgments if any giant burrito-sized sushi shows up in the sequels. So, absolutely, you got to give credit where credit's due.
So how has your travel as a real human being influenced your world of your not real fantasy world?
Big time. I think that learning as much as you can about people in general is always going to make your writing better. So, you know, as many people I can meet that are not like me, I feel like that's going to help me understand human nature and the world around me in a way that will help me to craft a believable made up world. A lot of people talk about Relalia in my first book, in this book that's in the contest, and it'll be kind of obvious if you read it that it was heavily influenced by the time I spent in Hawaii. Though it's not like a direct Hawaiian culture, it is an island culture, and I think that the time that I was able to immerse myself in not just like the flashy side of Hawaii tourism, but the day-to-day life of the people who live there and the history and, being surrounded by jungle and what it really feels like. I think experiencing those things naturally helps you to write them a little bit better in a way that feels real instead of just feels like something you thought up one day, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm kind of addicted to traveling. I love to travel whenever I can. And I think that that kind of just not just expands my own worldview, but helps me to do that for my characters as well.
Where's the farthest flung or oddest place that you've been?
Farthest, I guess you'd have to say from where. Uh, I went to
Well,
Japan last year, so I guess that's like pretty much on the opposite side of the planet for me.
it doesn't need to be geographically far, but it just very different from what we're used to in the States as, living culture.
Yeah, yeah. So as far as like the cultures that kind of stood out to me as being very different from our own, Japan was one of them. We live in a very individualistic culture, and they have more of a communal thought process, where everybody will stand in a neat line rather than trying to be in first place. So like the kids can go to school and take trains on their own when they're 5 and things like that. And it was really interesting to speak to people there and just get an idea of how their thought process is different than ours and what makes it different and what their values are. Um, and then I was able to go to the Cayman Islands when I was in college, and not as a tourist, but in order to help with some situations over there. They'd had a hurricane and things like that, and um, go again to the places where the tourists do not go and learn a lot about what their life is like on a daily basis. And I went to this one island where they had one building that was their police station, fire station, airport, basically every government office was one building, and one grocery store where an apple cost like $5, and you could walk around the entire island in about an hour. And that was kind of mind-blowing to meet people who had lived their entire lives there and never left. So um, I think it's just neat to see the lives that different people are living all over the globe, and how that affects the way that they think.
Yeah. And that's such a great education for a writer, because when you need to kind of pull something and have something different, you
Hmm.
can look to those experiences and say, okay, yeah, I've seen people lead horse or donkey carts on cobblestone roads
Right.
before, and and the whole culture thing you allude to. England has a very well known queuing culture.
Yes.
They're very good about standing in line. You know, uh, us not so much, but there you go.
Yeah, and even just the way that different cultures will maybe view family, or whether they're matriarchal, patriarchal, uh, whether they live in houses where four generations will live together, or people go off on their own when they're a teenager, or things like that. So it's been cool to just kind of soak all that in throughout my life and kind of mull that over when I'm thinking about creating cultures that feel real in my books.
So here's a possibly interesting note. In Italy, they have a lot of larger houses with multiple families, like you say. And one of the reasons that they have that is probably not why you would think. So at least when I was there, they told me that in Italy, you don't have to pay property tax on your house if it's not complete. So they would build it, and then they would start building a little bit more on top, but not finish it until they had a new family member that needed it. Then they'd finish that up and build a little bit more. So it was never actually finished. And they
That's
wouldn't
really
have to pay
interesting.
taxes on it.
That's fascinating.
That's, it also took them 25 years to build a hospital, and it was garbage, and they had to tear it down before they ever opened it too. So
Yeah, well, there's a downside to it, I suppose.
There's a little bit of all of that. Mike, do you know you have your name on your shirt?
Yes.
Do you have that?
Mike
So
Mollman, author.
Wait, and it even says author?
On every one of these, I have one of these shirts on that says that.
That's
Oh,
very
and you
useful.
just-
Did you ever forget?
Yeah, well, that's where I'm getting to. In advanced years, I need help.
The further I go in this contest, and the more people I meet, the more I'm realizing how I failed at an author, and I didn't know that I needed a T-shirt or a collared shirt that says I'm an author on it. And now I feel, wow, why didn't come?
How many authors have you met? Dozens?
Yeah.
How many have one of those shirts with their name on it? Just Mike.
Only Mike. Okay, there's a point there.
And I will add, and it might be painful, Michael, I'm sorry, that Mike was out in the first round. So do you really want to take back advice or any advice from someone who got kicked out in the semifinal?
That doesn't mean anything. I honestly
not
believe
semifinals.
not to take any of the wind out of the sails of people who've made it far, but I think sometimes, in any contest, it comes down to who's the one reading your book and whether you hit your target audience or not. So don't devalue your work, Mike.
That's
not
okay.
devaluing Mike's work. We're just devaluing Mike. That's what we do.
We're being clear here.
Yes. Yes.
So, I tell people that I was in the brutal division that had Katie in it, so I knew that I had no chance because she was a take no prisoners type of person. So,
that's fair.
We were all just fodder at that point.
I mean, you just look at her cover; it's beautiful.
Your cover is pretty nice too. How did you get that done?
Okay, so I had kind of this broad idea of what I wanted it to look like. And I have had to go really low budget on all of this because, when you're just starting out as an author, it's hard to justify all the costs and it can get very expensive to publish books. Yeah, you guys know. And so I had, these dreams of different artists that I admired, and I was like, oh, maybe I could get so and so. And then I thought, my first book, I need to just be practical about it. So I got on Fiverr, and I found I found a young man who was just kind of starting out. I think he's still in university, and I pitched my idea to him, and he created this just really kind of eye-grabbing cover for me, and I could not be happier. I plan to continue with him for the second book if he'll do it. So I'm very happy with that. There are a lot of Easter eggs in the cover itself, but I'll let people find those out as they read the series.
Tell us one.
All I will say is that if you look really closely to the spots, they are constellations. And these constellations will come into play in a very big way as the series progresses.
Okay.
You are a planner.
In some things. Except maybe what's for dinner. It's the worst question every day. What am I gonna make for dinner?
Yeah. I think my wife and daughter ate Cocoa Pebbles tonight for dinner. Yeah.
Delicious and nutritious.
I'm a little jealous, actually. So what kind of art direction did you have to get that effect? So as this was your first time, anybody who might watch us at some point who's never done it before and is thinking about it, what kind of ideas should you go in with, and how much give and take is there with the artist? I mean, how much do you kind of let them do their thing, and how much do you say this is what I want?
Yeah, so I think authors want different things. Some have a really specific idea of what they want, some have a general. I had a semi-specific idea. I wanted something that would incorporate the constellations, and I did kind of mock up the constellations and what I wanted them to look like. Um, I knew I wanted the void on the cover, and I wanted it to include a character, but a character that was kind of mysterious and ambiguous. Like I didn't want to face, I didn't want to give away too much. Because like I said, the first book, it's hard to talk about without spoilers. There are a lot of twists and turns and things. So I wanted something that would be mysterious, but also eye-catching, and I loved the idea of using some bright colors. And so I kind of went to my artist with kind of some inspirational images that had the feel that I liked, and I left the character completely up to him. And then I gave him the constellations and the concept of the void. And then on the back, I don't know, on the back is sort of the inverse of the front. And this this is a spoiler and also an Easter egg. And I wanted the back to be kind of a peek into the void with the area for the book blurb on the back. And that's really all I told him, and he went from there, and he gave me, I think, 3 different mock-ups, and it was just a really pleasant experience. He was really easy to work with. Highly recommend him.
And generally on Fiverr, you get I mean, especially if you hit on someone who really knows what they're about, like this guy, it's generally a pretty decent value as well.
It is. I went kind of middle of the road with price as far as Fiverr goes, and I looked at his other works, and I knew that I liked the product that he put out, and I really just had a good experience. I mean, I know that others might have different experiences on Fiverr, but that one was a really good one for me, and I'm happy that I went that direction. There is, some in-book art on the printed ones. I know people miss out on that on the ebooks. The chapter headers are also, I wouldn't say Easter eggs, but they do have a meaning. Yeah, they do have a meaning, and they do kind of correspond to the chapter that they're in an interesting way that I don't know. Nobody's talked about it, so I don't know if anybody's picked up on it, but it was just something that I thought would be fun. And those I did myself, but as well as the weird pages here. These are excerpts from one of the characters' journals. And they have, if anybody's watching this and you skipped these, there are a ton of hints to the plot in these journal pieces. So
Do you get these printed through like Amazon or Ingram?
for now, it is just Amazon for, price reasons and just ease of being able to get it into people's hands for now. But I would like to go wide as I continue the series.
The reason I ask that is how difficult is it to work with Amazon printing and setting it up when you have all of those different images, and especially that the page you just showed us with that like handwritten page and everything? Because
so I used a software that was so I built the physical book and the ebook 2 different places. I built the physical book in InDesign and used a template that was specifically made for books that were going to be printed on Amazon, and then worked it, into my own. So that helped a lot. And I also, you can order test copies. No. So embarrassing. You can order test copies, and then I built the ebook separately because they have different parameters and sizes. Like the images had to be different sizes based on whether it was the print or the ebook. But honestly, it wasn't bad. The only thing I will complain about when it comes to Amazon is that their printers do vary.
yeah,
So you guys probably realize that. So I often will look in the in the back of the book and say, okay, where was this one? Okay, this one was printed in Colombia. Well, Colombia did a great job. And then somebody will get one that was printed somewhere else and it's a little wonky or, you know. So the quality does tend to vary depending on which printing facility they come from. And that's kind of, I think, one of the biggest downsides of going with Amazon is that I don't know for sure that everybody who gets the book is getting the best version of it.
I had a young lady at a outdoor festival once bought one of my books, and she came back half an hour later, and the cover was actually upside down.
Oh no!
Right,
and this was Amazon.
Yeah. And I checked and she just got the one that it happened to, because you open it up and everything is upside down inside, right? So, but she was thrilled with that. I said, "I'll get you a different one." They're like, "Oh no! This one's this."
No, you
just
like, have to tell them it's going to be worth money eventually.
That's what I said. It's like, I hope it's worth $1 million to you one day. It's, you know, have at it. But
there are probably like 5 Master of the Voids out there somewhere that have a embarrassing typo in it, and I'm hoping that those people either haven't noticed it or have noticed it and value it, because
you can't
it'll be worth something.
say that and think that I'm not going to ask you this next question. What is the embarrassing typo?
The embarrassing typo is I have a character who's declaring that they're about to head out on the open sea, and all of the spell check did me wrong and nobody caught it, and it got printed saying they were about to head out for the open seat.
Seat?
Yes, with a T. So I don't know if they were just heading out for the first open seat they could find, but
well, you know, there it is. In a magic world, it could be anything. Oh, Mike, do you want some alone time? Do you want to just turn off your camera for a bit?
Aww. Hey, puppy. What's the puppy's name?
His name is Shadow, and he's pure evil.
No.
Oh yeah, that
Precious.
was the evil-looking dog. Yeah, that was a hellhound right there.
So
I don't believe a word of it. He's perfect.
Okay, so go play in traffic. Go play in traffic.
Oh my God, what's wrong with you, man?
He's so cute.
The dog's the nicest thing in that room. Come on now.
More than the mannequin?
Yes. Somebody asked, where is it? Hold on. Somebody asked about music. Little off topic, but it's I know it's very unlike us to go off topic. So
yeah.
What's your favorite? What's your music to write? Or do you listen to music while you write?
I do always listen to music while I write because it shuts out the world around me. I have a curated playlist that I call my writing muse, and it's composed mostly of video game soundtracks. Well, Morgan's at your house, Mike.
Like Galaga?
Let's see. I don't even remember which ones are on there right now. But yeah, just about any of the like I don't know how to say it. Basically, anything that doesn't have words, it can't have words, and it has to be sort of sweeping and inspirational, but not too exciting, because then I'll get distracted by the like boss fight music. Is a no usually. It's more like the ambient music that's in the background when you're
Zelda.
playing a video game. Yeah, Zelda, Skyrim.
Oh yeah, Skyrim. Yeah.
Skyrim has really good background music. Things like that. I kind of have it. Oh, when I'm not writing. We'll be here another hour, Katie. We can't ask that question.
She writes 9,000 words a day. She doesn't have time for anything else.
Surprisingly. Let's see. Just built some raised beds recently. I like to garden. I like to hike. I like to travel and try new foods. I read when I'm not writing. I can read manga when I'm writing, though, because that's not even the same genre.
You know, gardening and hiking are perfect for writers, because if you don't have headphones in your head, right, and you're just kind of walking around,
yeah,
you can have a lot of aha moments
Absolutely.
with story and character doing that.
Yeah, and it's been proven that if you're moving your body, you're also moving your brain can kind of kick into gear. And so hiking is really good for that. My son and I have challenged ourselves to hike every state park in our state this within the calendar year. And if you do that, you get a t-shirt. So that's kind of what we're working on. I think there's 47, so you have to pretty much hike one a week.
There's 47 state parks in South Carolina.
Yeah. And they're all pretty cool, actually. I didn't know until we decided. Somebody said, "Oh, you should check out the state park passport." So you buy a passport and you can get into any state park for free. I mean, for the cost of the passport, for a calendar year. And they give you a book, and there's stamps at each state park, and you can get a stamp for each one that you visit. So and if you get your book full of stamps, you get t-shirts. So
Nice.
that's kind of our.
There've got to be a couple close enough together you can bang out a couple in one weekend, right?
Yeah. Some of them are, far away, so we're gonna plan to do like a camping trip and hike 3 or 4 in one weekend. So yeah.
Tell me, I've always been curious, and especially to our Army brothers out there who I just don't understand. What is the appeal about camping?
Camping. Well, okay, so it depends on how you camp. For me, it's nostalgic. I grew up camping. My family, that's what we generally would do for vacation. We weren't the Disney World family most of the time. So, I have a lot of happy memories of camping and fishing and things like that. But for me, the appeal is to just get away. Like I get very stifled by suburbia and traffic and all of those things that kind of make your mind noisy. And camping is fun because you have to focus on basic things like making the fire that keeps you warm and putting up the tent that's going to keep you dry, and maybe you're catching your own fish to eat, or everything tastes better over a campfire. My friends still talk about the coffee that I made in an old percolator on a fire when we went camping together, and said they've never had any better coffee no matter what coffee shop they go to, because everything tastes better. The air's crisp and you have nature sounds around you, and hopefully you don't get eaten by a bear.
It's always the bears. Have you ever watched the show Alone?
I haven't.
Oh my God.
Love that show.
It's a fantastic show. I hate camping, right?
Oh, sorry.
I was stationed in Alaska once, and they offered me an opportunity to go out. They have a cool school out there where they teach you winter survival. They bring you out for a week with a candy bar, and you have to learn to catch birds and rabbits and stuff and make shelter and all that. And it's no, I don't want to go do that. It's that's just silly. Why would you do that? But Alone, they take 10 people, and not like the morons that you get on a lot of television shows. They take 10 people who actually know what they're about, and they take them to these really remote places like freaking Labrador, Nova Scotia, Alaska, freaking Argentina. Yeah. And they drop them out there, and they have 10 things that they can carry with them, right?
Okay.
And that's it. And a couple, and they all have to film their own things, right? So they give them this big container full of camera equipment, whatever. And then whoever lasts the longest gets a couple $100,000, whatever it is. And
awesome.
It's a fascinating show, and I'm going to tell you to watch it knowing that you are going to lose days of writing when you start watching.
That's not kind.
No, but it is absolutely fascinating to watch.
I am going to have to watch that. That actually sounds very interesting.
I wish, honestly, and Mike, you've watched it, obviously. Let me know what you think. I wish they would make a show that's just women, because they have mixed groups, right? I mean, obviously, they're nowhere near each other. But one of the things is, after a certain point, they do a weekly health and wellness check on these people that you don't ever see until they're way deep into it. And there's only 2 or 3 of them left. And if you lose a certain amount of weight or body fat or something like that, they pull you out. Right? Okay. So I think women generally are at a bit of a disadvantage because of that. Right? But the women you see on the show are so much better at a lot of other things, right? the guys are going to go out. This one dude killed like a moose and cleaned it with a freaking 5-inch knife, right? Just crazy. But these women are out there like doing like, oh, this berry does this and these greens do this, and like getting full meals kind of stuff that and they should be able to last a lot longer, but then they come up against, yeah, well, you've lost 30 pounds and you didn't weigh that much to begin with, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right? So that's
an interesting concept.
And they're
We
always-
actually had this conversation in the author chat a while back about how we would survive if we were placed out and had to like hunt our own food. And that is where my wilderness skills kind of break apart, because I won't like kill the animals myself. I'd have to stick with like fish and berries and plants and stuff. So.
Well, watch some of these, because after about day 30, these people are like, yeah, the fish isn't doing it anymore. There's only so much fat on a fish, and yeah, that the fish just doesn't make it.
That's why I just go camping for weekends.
Well, there you go. The back of a truck.
But I will have to watch that show. That sounds fun, actually.
Still
And now apparently I have to write a cozy fantasy camping story too. So Disney Princess.
I did have one other question, if I may, Mike. I don't know. You might want to.
No,
How do you come up with names for your characters? I wish I would have been asking this of everybody, but I forgot.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really fun. I like my characters to have names with meaning. And so I'll usually spend a lot of time thinking about who they are. And then I just kind of start using different tools, like even Google Translate, to learn words in other languages that mean that. And then I sort of just piece it together. They're never direct translations from any one language. It's just sort of a feeling that comes from learning that meaning in many other languages. And that's generally how I'll do that. Sometimes the name just kind of hits me. And, if it's a side character whose name doesn't have to have a ton of meaning, I'll just think, oh, this is a cute name. I'll do that. Like,
if it's a side character, oh, this name will look good on a headstone. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, if the character is going to live a decent amount of time, I try to give them a good name. But yeah, most of the names are made that way.
See, and Erin says,
yeah, I try not to do
says
that.
Right. And my wife tells me to make the names pronounceable, so you're not like always running into this letter salad,
Yeah. Well, like one of the main characters in Master of the Void, her full name is Katimawa Keki, and she goes by Kati, and you only see her full name happen once in the entire book, because she's like, no, don't use my name, just call me Kati. So I do try to think of my readers when I make names, to where they're not just going every time they pass that character's name. So
you just
I
memorize.
think it's hard to get it. Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to get attached to a character when you can't even say their name. So
yeah, I think that makes sense, actually. That's fair. All right, we've wasted another hour of someone's life, Mike.
Woohoo!
Congratulations.
And that was mostly painless, right, Wend?
It was mostly painless. Yeah, except for when you were reading my reviews out loud. I'll never forgive you for that, but that's okay.
But you've started something now. I think we're going to do this every week.
Oh, good luck to the remaining survivors.
Well, we got one left.
Two.
Two, right?
We got Arcade,
Jackie
we got
and
Jacqueline.
Arcade. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, three if we count Morgan, but
Morgan is always here in spirit, so there's that.
Oh well. Well,
Thank you guys. It hasn't been too bad. I appreciate it.
That's high praise. It hasn't been too bad. We're going to get that on shirts.
It has not been too bad.
That's the best we've
Wend
got, I
Raven.
think, hasn't it, Ro?
Yeah, I think it really is. I mean, that would be our only written review, I think. It wasn't too bad.
It really is high praise, though, because most interviews are terrible. So not being too bad, I mean that with all my heart.
Okay.
Hey.
Mhm.
Okay. If we're
On that
ready.
note.
Yes, thank you very much for hanging out with us, Wend. Appreciate it. Good luck on SPFBO.